So what you doing, Chair?
February 18th.
Making him reach.
Entertain a motion to accept the agenda as may be amended.
So moved.
I don't have any reason to move anything, and there's no one here to
Me either.
accommodate. So, all in favor of accepting the agenda as approved, please say aye. Aye. And I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of February 4th as may be amended.
So moved.
And,
Where's the short one?
I'm missing the middle page.
I got 2 copies. Did
that
I
what
get
happened?
yours?
It got stapled together?
I just don't have page 2, which is what
Well,
you
here.
want to correct, right?
Yes, that's the one.
That's the one thing that Chet had. Yeah, mine's the same way.
I have no issues with this one.
Yeah, that's, he got
Yeah.
the blank one too. For some reason, the copier skipped a couple of pages on me.
I don't have the back
Oh, you
page.
got it.
No, that's okay, as long as you have it as secretary. And
The only-
it just has that date to it.
Yeah, the only thing I saw was the, when we did the date, I said the date of town meeting, not the date of the informational meeting, so we had done the warning for March 2nd, but in the minutes, we said March 3rd.
Okay. Otherwise, I didn't have anything. All in favor of accepting the minutes of February 4th as amended, please say aye.
Just while we're on minutes or whatever
Yep.
meetings. I went on site tonight to check to see what the time was. I always get this mixed up with my other meeting, 6 or 6:30.
Yeah.
But I didn't see anything warned for February, whatever.
25?
Thursday.
On the calendar, you mean?
I didn't see anything warned for February 18th.
Oh, for
I
tonight?
saw February 25th, and when I clicked on February 25th, it brought up tonight's meeting.
Oh, so that's what's in the calendar?
Well, the calendar is right, but if you go to Town of Killington and you look up Select Board meetings,
Yeah.
it doesn't have February 18th meeting.
Oh, okay.
It says February 25th, but if you click on February 25th, it brings up February 18th. It brings this up,
All right, I'll fix that.
so.
Okay. Select board concerns?
I have none.
This is not a concern, but I wanted to make mention of the great job that the library and the active seniors did with spreading the hearts all over town for Valentine's Day.
Shh, I thought they were Phantom.
They put it out in an email to get volunteers, so I don't think it was a phantom anymore. Yeah, it was supposed to be, but my wife saw it either on Facebook or in an email, looking for volunteers. That's the only thing that I had. I wanted to make sure we mentioned that. And there's no one here for citizens, unless you have something? No? Okay.
He's nice.
Board of Liquor Control, do we have anything tonight?
We do.
Okay.
We have several renewals. I don't know if you want to do them all together, or...
Are they all the same renewal,
actually,
or are they
no.
different classes?
They're different classes.
Are they all already owned, or is there anyone new?
No, there's no one new. These are all renewals. It's Birch Ridge Inn, Deli at Killington Corners.
What's the
Casey's
first one for
Caboose.
what's Birch Ridge Inn?
First and third and outside consumption, renewal, no changes.
Make a motion for the town clerk to move forward, Birch Ridge Inn.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Deli at Killington Corners, second class.
Make a motion for the deli at Killington Corners for the town clerk to move forward, second class.
All in favor?
Aye.
Casey's Caboose, first class, third class, outside consumption, no changes.
Make a motion to approve the town clerk to move forward, Casey's Caboose, first class.
And third.
First, third, and
First, third, and
outside
outside
consumption.
consumption.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Lookout Bar and Grill, same thing, first, third, and outside, no changes.
Ditto.
Okay. All in favor? Say aye.
And Mountain Merchants Deli, a second class, no changes.
Mountain Deli, second class, no changes.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Just clarification for people watching. Can you tell what Class 2 is? Because we haven't had a lot of people apply for Class 2. Is that for the sale?
Yes, that's sale of packaged goods.
Okay.
First class is actually beer and wine. Second
Right.
class is packaged goods. Third
Yep.
class is liquor.
Right.
And then outside consumption is,
No, it was just
What is packaged goods?
such as beer and wine and stuff in the stores.
Okay.
liquor store type. No,
What's
I
cigarettes?
Well, we don't do those.
We don't do that, but
don't
they.
do cigarettes.
Okay.
That's with the state. No, that's just to clarify the different classes for what they are. All right, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 meetings back, but we had a presentation by Sun Common for solar, and Chet has some options and updates.
Yeah, we wanted to look at a couple of things. One was, we wanted to consider all the sites and all the different options. The 2 main sites that we talk about is a public safety building and the town garage. The secondary sites were the town office with a solar carport, the same at the library, and we did include the golf course to be considered. They did go visit the golf course and said that with the mountain and the layout of the area, that any ground mount or anything of that nature wouldn't work, and that building would not support solar. It's not structural, and the thing's kind of a mess, so we don't have an option at the golf course.
Did we ask them whether they could do a charging station at the golf course?
Well, you can, a
'Cause
charging
It
station,
wouldn't need to collect quite as much.
I mean, the reality is, we could do the same thing, and it becomes an issue of value, which it applies to all those, but the same solar carport setup could be done, which each one of those that we priced included 2 charging stations. So we could consider that, but tonight I was gonna kind of focus on the 2 big,
No, that's fine.
the big projects, and then work on the smaller ones after, because they're gonna be financed separately anyway.
Okay.
Basically, when we looked at these 2 projects, well, first of all, the Killington Public Safety Building, when they looked at the upper roof as well, they were able to almost double the amount of solar they could put on that building, and looked at the cost of what the actual construction would be, and it's $318,000. And if you look at the sheet that's tied to that, that's the solar Pro Forma for the public safety building, we looked at the 2 options between if we were to buy it and finance it, or go PPA, what the cost would be at the end of those terms. And assuming a 30% value of what we'd have to pay at the end. So at the public safety building, using a 3% interest, we would incur a cost of about $423,000 over the course of the 20 years that we're looking at. And if we did the PPA and did it at 15 years, we would be paying $400,000, so it's actually about $23,000 cheaper. And the first option with a PPA is if you go and only finance it for the 8 years, the total cost is $330,000, and we would be paying the $191 at the end. So the cheapest option there is to go to an 8-year PPA if you look at the cost over the life. So when I look at it and then I say, well, trying to compare something that's fairly close where you go out as far as you can and don't have a big end payment, and you look at the 15-year cycle, there's virtually no difference between financing it and the PPA. So one of the things I was looking for, was there a significant savings if we went that route? Because without that, I would recommend going to PPA versus financing rather than using up financing, our finance abilities for things like that. And we get a similar result at the town garage. The total cost for that one is $312,000. The 20-year cost on financed is $415,000. $432,000. It's slightly more than the financed if we go PPA on that one, about $15,000. At the end, they end up almost identical if you choose the 15-year. But the 7-year again end up significantly less at $342,000. So if we were, my recommendation is looking at the numbers and looking at how this works, and then when you look at this sheet, the usage and solar offsets, basically we are producing almost 100% of our current power needs, which we expect to expand a little as we look at modifications to Killington Road. We look at different systems that will probably come into. We're probably going to increase that with more lighting and things of that nature. So from a usage perspective, and this includes the town office and library, all the smaller ones as well, what we'd be generating. So it makes sense for the town to look at this, because after 15 years, no matter which one we choose, after 15 years, we would be totally in control of our power expenses, and we could have zero, we pay in zero at that point. What I'm looking for tonight is, if the select board is interested or able to do this at this time, is two things. One is for the town garage, what they've done in order to not, because they don't want to let the project get too far out there time-wise, or we might not catch up, is sign an agreement for the permitting services so they could actually review the town garage for structural, to make sure it's going to be able to handle this, so we can finalize all the documents once we know that. And the other item is, given that we are, at the end of this week, going to begin roofing on the public safety building, being able to say we are going to move forward with solar on the public safety building, because then we can start putting in the conduits now while they're doing the roof. It would be an ideal situation. So those are the two things I was hoping to accomplish tonight, is to get the process started. I think the public safety building kind of goes without saying, because it's designed structurally to handle it. And then the other one is the town garage, getting the structural analysis done. And if you're not able to do that tonight, that's fine. That was what I was looking for.
So with the garage, what we'd be agreeing is to go forward so they can do an assessment of the garage?
Of the
But
structure of the
We aren't
garage.
actually committing to the
Right,
contract?
because I don't want to sign a contract till I know that that's going to happen. I don't want to put that out there till we have all the background information. The public safety building, we know that one works.
Yeah, so on the garage, I mean, we already said move ahead, so you don't need
Yeah.
anything.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You know, we
Well,
told you
I'm saying,
that.
but I'm signing an agreement that's for that, so I wanted you to be
Well,
aware.
the
of it.
agreement is just saying that they're gonna go look forward to make sure that the roof can handle it.
Right.
Well, there's and
The
there is.
agreement, is the agreement, what is the agreement actually saying? Is it saying?
The
that-
agreement is saying that we would, if they don't end up doing it, we'd end up paying $5,000, because we're gonna spend the money with a structural engineer. So there's a $5,000 expense that would be incorporated into it's incorporated into the project price.
Well, that changes things.
Yeah, I know.
At least, not to me, it doesn't change it.
No, I mean, at least we're being upfront of what it
Yeah,
is.
right.
It's worded differently. You know, it's not tying us into either we go with the PPA right away, or we go with the PPA, or it's not tying us in that we decide to do a buyout
Right. Not on the garage.
Not on the garage, no.
on either or.
Well, we aren't, except that if we are gonna move forward with the public safety building, we'd wanna make that choice. Because the sooner.
So just, let's go over I'm not opposed to any of this, it's the finance,
Yes.
okay? So let's just take a look at the public safety building. I'm sorry, but I didn't bring my glasses today. So go through again where you said 15
happen to have
years
this
and
that you
20
can put up
years
the-
or whatever?
What this estimate does is it looks at the cost over the life of the process, which means
Right,
for the financing and if there's a buyout included.
right.
So on the yellow column, it says total finance loan payments at, assuming 3% interest, $422,000 over 20 years, which means we'd have no large outlay. That's just an even payment over a 20-year finance
So the
process.
town finance loan payments at 3% is $423,960
Yes.
Right.
after 20 years.
Yes.
The PPA option, number one, at the end of 8 years,
On the 8th year, we have to pay the $191,000.
and so we've paid how much into it then?
We will have paid total $330,000.
330, okay.
And the other one is the 400, and then we'll do the similar thing, that same PPA spread out over 15 years, it becomes 400,000.
Yeah, okay. I mean, to me, it would be really interesting to see, at the end of 8 years, okay, on the one, and the end of 16 years on the other one, if you use a 5 or a 6% interest rate, I mean, we're at low interest rates right now, and right now, you're telling me right now, we could lock in at 3%,
Right.
and it's $23,000 difference.
Right.
But if you use the more common 5% or whatever, okay, interest rate, I bet you the number would flip after.
Why would we, I'm confused by why you're going there with the 5%, because we're gonna, any of the financing would be just up front. We wouldn't be refinancing later.
Well, the finance here, you're locking in for how many years on the town finance? You're gonna, 20 years, you're gonna lock in for
3%.
For 3%. Okay, and it's 423,000. Option one, at the end of 8 years, you owe $191,000.
Right.
Okay, what is the interest rate that you're doing on $191,000, and for how many years?
Well,
That's where I'm coming from.
okay, my assumption was if we wanted to go that route, and you're talking about 8 years, I would divide that 190,000 over to 30 years and try to fund it in capital and not do it as a loan at the end. And not pay finance charges. I mean, we can do that. I could do that math right now for you if you want. I mean, if you want to see that. Because you're gonna go. So you're gonna go 5%. How many years are you talking about then? That same 8 years to compare?
Well, say a 10-year note after that,
Okay, 10.
to bring you out to at least 18 years or whatever. I mean, because what we're saying here, Chad, is that we're putting the board or future boards into that over 8 years that they're going to be putting away somewhere around $23,000 a year of the budget into a capital
Right.
and it's saving us money, but yet money costs you money. I mean, if you guys are willing to say that you think that future boards are always gonna put $23,000 away for a solar, and I don't
Part of the
know.
question is, how much are we saving in electric cost at the same time?
Right.
So it may be, I mean, the credits in the second column,
Well, if we're using
Are all-
$50,000 worth of electricity
All
a
right,
year.
if we
well, I'm
go,
just saying, they're all in the mid-20s,
all right, on the middle column,
little credits.
the payment on that 10 years would be 24,748.
Well,
All right, so if we take that times 10 years, we'll have outlaid a total of 247,480. The 139,216 is what we would have spent for the first 7 years.
yeah.
And that would give us a total of 386,696. So that middle number becomes 386,696 if we refinance it 10 years there, 10 years.
So I guess I don't know, maybe I'm being stupid on this. But if I go to a PPA, I'm only saving 10% of my electricity cost. Okay? And so it's still gonna cost me $19,000, right? Is this what this is saying? It's cost me $19,000 for what? 60% of the total?
That's the buyout. So what this is the 19,000 represents what we'd be paying on the loan in lieu of the electricity. The goal for this whole process, we're not gonna make tons of money. If we're saving a little bit of money in the first 15 years and fixing, because the one thing this does is it fixes our utility costs.
Yeah, but-
For the first
So I
15
guess so on the, I just need this one time here. On the solar panel for the public safety building, how much electricity is it going to produce?
That is on.
50,000?
Year one, it produces 21,250. That's this
21,250.
form here.
Okay, so it produces 21,250 offset from public building.
Right.
And we're only gonna, and we have to pay them $19,054.
Correct.
And we're still paying the electric company something, right?
No, this would become, that would be what what we're generating, we're not paying for. So all of that power goes back to us. So we're not paying that bill. And what I wanted to make sure was that we weren't paying more than what we're paying out in electrical costs right now, which is what this sheet represents. So it's basically the same. So basically, we're gonna save about 10%, and we're gonna take control of our costs.
So are they paying for the meter?
We pay for the base meter.
But that's not in this 19,054.
Right, well, it's
Well, I mean,
25 or
then-
30 bucks a month or something.
And there's other,
Yeah, no, and my point is we're very, very close to paying our entire bill with this. And that 10% would probably cover all the miscellaneous costs.
I'll go with the other way you two. I'm just a person that believes that if you can get 3% for 20 years right now, I'd go with that.
Well, and that, my thing was, and I agree, but that's why I was choosing the 15-year PPA, simply because what that does is we get that same benefit without having to go to the bank and finance and have that using up our ability to borrow. That was the only reason for mine, because I consider those equal. If you're within 5% either way, they're virtually the same cost over time. I would choose the longer PPA, which would keep our costs stable for a longer period of time and not commit us to a big outlay.
I'm totally for the project.
I'm just trying
I
not-
wait for the other two to, where
I'm
they
just-
go.
my goal has
I'm
been
for
not to
buying-
use bank
I'm for
financing.
buying at 3%. That's, and I'll leave it at that. If the other two come back, let them have their discussion.
I think we're gonna leave Chuck in the middle.
That's why we're a boy.
Because part of, right. No, because part of what I'm looking at is with the PPA on the longer period, we don't have to commit any money, which we might need to use for something else.
And I don't see it that way. We're still committing $19,054 because we're still paying. So to own a system outright for $2,000 to start from day one, that's the total cost. It's not that, we're not laying anything out.
Well,
We're either paying the PPA people $19,054 a year, or, and then it goes up to $20,000 in year
5, 6.
five.
5 and 6.
Okay?
Yeah.
Goes up to 20, but it stays at 21,198 throughout the whole. So we either pay a bank 21,198, or we pay a PPA group, $22,000 throughout the rest of the years. So in those years, you're higher than the 21,998. That's all I'm looking at, and that's why I believe we should buy the units. And I don't like putting other select board members into a bit of later on down the road, 10 years from now, saying we have to put money aside to buy it. Because that's the same thing on year
But we
15.
kind of are doing that by agreeing to finance it for.
But we're
20
putting
years.
it to the voters right now to buy it for 20 years, instead of pushing it out on the road to say, okay, now we're stuck at 96,000 at the end of 16 years. You still gotta finance that 96,000, or you have, or during the 18 years, what's 96,000 divided by 18? $5,000 a year.
Right.
$5,000 a year you're gonna put aside on top of the 19,054, which is the lowest. So you're putting away $24,054 a year for this solar panel, instead of just buying it for 3% right now and putting out 21,998. It's cheaper. Because that's your plan, is making these payments plus $5,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's higher than the
Oh, I,
per year for at least the first 16 years.
right.
Well, if it comes out
Wait for
to,
you, Chuck.
It's just a financing
Now that
philosophy.
Now that the bookends have spoken. We get into the real book. But do you see where I'm saying that the plan is to put 5,000 away?
no, I understand that, yeah. And it's
More than just buying it.
not a problem for me to do the other, the whatever that is, 20-year. Okay. Whatever you think.
Just remember, we're gonna be putting 5K away so we can buy it at 96.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit confused. Well, you know,
Only a little?
well, originally, I thought that guy said there are options where it would cost the town like nothing, right? And we get a small,
Well, when they say
Discount.
costing you nothing, this is all being paid for out of our electric bill. This isn't a capital expense. This is basically, instead of writing our check to GMP, we're gonna write the same check to the PPA. So it's basically a flat cost to the town electrically. Okay, so there is no,
So to pick up
It's not
from where
like tax
Chuck
dollars.
is coming from, there is a third option, is that it's a 20-year or whatever PPA, and at the end of 20, we would own it, and we're just paying, and we're just
they
getting the
don't, they don't.
10% savings.
See, it's all based on the people that are doing the investing, and they don't typically go out that far. Actually, most PPAs are just the 7-8 year ones.
Right, and they want you to buy it out at the
Right.
end. of it.
yeah, so the numbers in the PPA column represent really our electricity costs. So
Yes.
it's not like an additional.
No, this is not,
cost.
this is not like a loan payment. These are, we're taking
Yeah.
the money out of our existing operations budget and writing it over here instead. So that's the whole benefit, is if you can pay for your pay the equivalent of your electric bill and gain this value over 15 years, and then after that, you might have 15 or 18 years that you don't pay anything for all this same amount of energy. That's kind of the goal, and it also because we are seeing 3 to 5% increase every year on the electric rates coming from GAP. And as they're not being able to spend enough money on their infrastructure, there's gonna have to be some more infrastructure investment. And we're also taking more people out of the GMP billing cycle, which means the per person rate's gotta go up for the people that stay there. You know, so it's all one of it's like everything is leading you towards much higher electric rates if you stay just buying from the grid.
Which would be another argument for me to say, get in the deal right now with Green Mountain Power to lock in for the next whatever, because they're having their complaints now about how they have to purchase the power from, because of all these systems going up.
Yeah.
And in 8 years, in 2 years from now, we'd be totally different.
Well, this will always cover our electricity, it's just how we want to do, this is really just a
Right,
financing
right.
discussion.
Right, and basically all option 1 and option 2 is just the 10% savings from town finance plan.
Correct.
But we're paying that anyway in electricity.
So what would happen if, you know, say we did a PPA option and, you know, after 12 years, say you do the third one and this thing ends up being a pile of garbage, what happens then?
What do you mean?
Well, it doesn't work as well as they were stating.
Well,
or
the issue is
broken,
there's
or-
always a 15% penalty clause, so if it underproduces, they have to pay us back that amount. That's in the contracts with the PPA. So if they say it's gonna produce 10,000, let's say, and you're only getting 8,200, they gotta pay you that difference of what you're not producing,
Of,
to 300. It's either 10 or 15%, I can't remember the number.
they get you within, yeah, so you're not getting 100%.
No. I'm saying if you had a 10,000, you were supposed to produce 10,000 kilowatt hours and you produced 8,500, and they said there was a 10% difference, the 500 that you're below what the contract allows, you get paid back.
Yeah, so you're only getting 9,000.
Right.
They're guaranteeing you to 9,000.
Right.
Even though they're telling you 10,000.
Right.
I mean, they're pretty close on.
Well, that the one thing they did say is they've been doing this enough years that they're getting really close to actual production rates in their process.
We can be 3% under. but you're not gonna get that 3% because it's within the 5 or 10% safety clause for them. If this thing produces if this thing does 97% of what they're saying, they're good, they're not giving us the 3%. They have to be way off.
Well, it's more than 10, I think it's 10%.
So, I just stand with, I like the idea of going to solar, and I think that, in my mind, I feel more comfortable of locking it up at 3% interest rate. Because I don't know what's gonna happen in 8 years from now if we're looking for $191,000, or 3 years from now if we're looking for $23,000. So,
Do you need a decision on this tonight?
Well,
I mean, I think we're agreed to go ahead with the town garage and have that assessment done.
my thing is, what I'd like is, I know Chuck's on the fence, but I'd like to know, we don't have to make the final decision today. I'd like to know which way he's leaning, because if that's the case, I would like to talk to Peoples and say, okay, so if we want to do this, is this going to mess anything up, and are you guys interested? And just get there and see what the best rate I can negotiate right now is and get a real number.
That's in terms of if we finance.
If we're gonna finance. If the goal, if you're leaning towards a PPA, then it's a matter of, I mean, if we're going in that direction, then it's a different discussion.
I mean, if you want to go out and spend $26,000 for $21,000 worth of electricity a year, go ahead. Because that's your plan. You're saying you're going to put $5,000 away a year to pay the loan at the end of the time. So if you want to pay $26,000 today for $21,000 worth of electricity, go ahead.
I will tell you that financially, in my opinion, the loan will be the better option. My concern is the difference isn't great enough to use potential borrowing power. That's really what the whole discussion is about. It's not that, obviously, if you can control your own destiny and buy this outright, you're in a better place. The issue is, how does that affect us going forward? That's really my only concern.
How much more loan, how close are we to bumping into whatever our maximum,
Well, there's no hard maximum. I mean, by statute, it's like we're not even close. But we get to where the banks go, well, we really don't want to see this kind of loan, or we don't want to see that, and I would want to take their temperature. I hadn't gotten in contact with Dave Olson recently, but I was going to talk to him about it. But, when it came in that close, I was like, well, I would always err on the side of not borrowing the money. That's just my...
And to be honest with
Let
you,
me-
go ahead.
No, let me ask this. If we do the loan, aren't we essentially paying off the loan with money we would have spent on our electric bill anyway?
Correct.
And not putting
Okay.
$5,000
This is, like I said, just making the payments,
Okay.
it really doesn't matter which way to go. My thing was, I always like to keep as much borrowing power available if you needed it, that's all. I mean, we're in the process, this year, we took out the two bonds, and we are going to be refinancing the golf debt in 2021. And this would be in addition to that. And that was, I was just looking at it going, okay. And we're fine right now. My thing is 3 years from now, if we're gonna start rebuilding Killington Road, or if we end up in a situation where we're gonna end up putting in a water system, we're talking about a whole nother round of financing. And that's really all this is about, is looking down to that next grouping.
So if we decide to go into a contract to purchase this system, then I would say that we also, at the end of this meeting, would have to go into an executive session to discuss a contract with these people.
That's correct.
Because this purchase price is based off of a PPA, really, not of somebody going and saying, I want to buy it.
Well, they told me the number they were gonna give me was gonna be the buyout price. And I will check that with them. Cause this is the
I believe
purchase
buyout
price.
will be
See,
cheaper. The purchase price will be cheaper than the PPA.
Well, this is,
this is the
system value is 318,505.
This is the buyout price, the buyout direct. This is what they have calculated in for with some additional expenses that go with it.
Right.
But this is the actual, when you look at the financing, it's based on this.
This is the buyout, this is the purchase price of going to one person.
Yes. So, you know.
Well, maybe what we do is ask you to ask people's what effect borrowing the money up front would
Right.
have, without us making a decision tonight.
That's fine.
Because what I'm looking at right now is that our expenses aren't, it's almost like semantics. If we're paying off the loan with money we would have spent on the electric bill, we're not spending any more money. But if it goes into the column as what we've borrowed, and that's going to, you know, have a negative impact on us needing to borrow money in the future. That's sort of where I'm coming from as far as the PPA goes.
Yeah, but when you,
Well, no, we can just ask him to ask the bank if we do that.
there are
what
certain
will it do?
loaning companies out there, I forget what it's called, but it's an energy efficiency, it's an energy efficiency type,
Right. And
where you're actually getting the system installed, and then they're taking your cost savings and putting it to it, so you're not actually going to the bank or whatever
Right.
for the loan. So, that's the option that you have, because, I mean, I forget the exact term it is,
yeah, no, I know what
There
you're
is a-
talking about because we were looking at those.
you know, so you're not going for a loan, you're actually using energy efficiency credits or whatever, and you're taking the actual cost of what you're gonna be spending, and then they put it towards the loan, so it's cost neutral to you.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Okay.
and I get it.
So if the desire would be, if we could find the right loan, we'd rather just buy it outright. If I get a consensus of that I will go negotiate that and see what I can get. And then bring it back to you at the next meeting.
Okay.
And then have that discussion one more time. So basically, I will authorize the work for the town garage. I'm going to, with your permission, based on these numbers, I would like to be able to tell Suncommon that we are putting rooftop solar at the public safety building, so we can at least get the conduits in the roof,
But we haven't decided on the
how we're
financing
financing
system.
it. So I'm basically, I just want to be able to move forward with, we're going to do something, we just got to figure out how we're going to fund it.
I don't have a
okay
problem with
with
that.
I'm good with that.
Okay, all right,
Good deal, thank you.
all right. Do you need
a motion for the
Yeah, we would need
agreement?
a motion to go forward.
Make a motion to go forward Suncommon for the town public safety building conduits and working out a
Financing options?
financing option. And also make a motion for the town garage roof to be inspected to see if it will support
Okay.
for Suncommon.
Have we discussed this enough?
I think
so.
so.
All right. All in favor of Jim's two motions, please say aye. Aye.
I think we did all of number 7.
We did. Do you need us to sign that going ahead on the town garage? You
No,
can
I-
sign that, right?
I can sign that, that's just,
Okay,
I got authorization, so
yep,
I'm all set.
okay. Okay, town financials.
Town financials, fairly boring financials, which is a good thing.
I like that.
When you go to the total expense line, same year to date and with a slightly higher budget, we are about $35,000 under what we were at the same time last year for expenses. One just point of note that will actually not show up until the next month, but we just got our funding in for Q4 for the options tax. And we had budgeted $89,000 for this quarter, and the check was for $131,000 and change. So we beat that fourth quarter budget by about $40,000 this year on options tax, so that went really well.
Can you check, when you mentioned that to me the other day, can you just check with Jim Harrison on that and see maybe that was because Airbnb and them were not charging for the 1 year and maybe they cleared everything up?
And it will show on there, and it just came in the other day, so I'll bring that to the next meeting so we can review that to see where that came from.
Either we were way off on our assumptions or it was because the year before Airbnb.
Well, the year before had a higher number, last year was a lower number, and this year was a higher number.
But Airbnb was not paying the 1%, and they said they were gonna make whole.
Okay.
And my only thing is on page 1, and I'll just say it again, I mean, I like, we have municipal taxes, and then we end up having actual 10 million and actual 11 million, but we have a line for state education taxes, and we don't have anything up there. And I just like to prove to the taxpayers that,
Yeah, we don't budget that. What we'll do is we will do a journal entry, and then the next quarter we'll have, when we get the rest of this taxes just came due February's, we can move that number over as to what that is. Because we don't budget that number, that's just a
It's
tracking
just,
line.
yeah, it's just a tracking, but we count that, when you say we don't budget it, but we are actually putting it in as our actual,
Correct.
including.
Yep.
That's kind of. You need a motion to approve it or no?
No. And actually,
Information.
Yeah.
yeah, and the treasurer's report for January, I know Lucretia finished it, but she forgot to send it to me, and I don't have it, so we'll hold that one off till the next meeting.
Okay.
And the final audit, actually, Chuck, you're the only one I haven't given one to. Whenever you get a chance, if you stop by Town Hall, I can give you an audit to review. Jim and we did get the final audit papers in. And as we stated before, our fund balance this year went up by about $176,000. So we are getting much closer to where we need to be. So things are looking good on the cash side. And we will not be doing a golf audit for this last calendar year because we're going to hold it off because we're moving it to the fiscal year. So when we do this June 30th, it'll actually be an 18-month golf audit for the golf course, and the town will be at 12. So we're only doing one audit now.
Golf course.
Golf course, just very little activity going on. We are, about the same place we were. Nothing spectacular or important to talk about yet. That was the first month, and really, I don't know if you want to see that again in February or wait till the end of the quarter when we're actually starting in April. But right now, it's just getting going. Next year, that will not be the case because we'll be doing it on the calendar year, on the fiscal year. So, but this month and next month and March should be fairly boring. And then hopefully it'll pick up. As my understanding is, sometime in March is when our new groundskeeper's going to be coming up and starting that process. So
But will they be purchasing like soft goods for the pro shop and
Yes.
stuff at this time of year?
yes, they'll start that. So the expenditures will start shortly. I know they've already started ordering a few things.
Let's just keep getting them monthly.
Okay. That is fine.
And managers report?
Public safety building update. I was up at a meeting there today. Things are really starting to move. Actually, the metal siding is starting on Monday. This Friday, the roof is starting on the lower roof, and that'll take about a week, and then they'll be doing the roof on the upper side.
Lower meaning the wooden part?
The wooden
or-
building, yeah.
Okay.
The finished roof will be going on. Siding will be going on. Over the next 2 weeks, they're telling me, with the exception maybe of windows and the garage doors, we'll have some temporary framing up. The building will be completely weather tight. And we'll be working inside and starting to pour the interior slabs and getting the rest of that work done.
I actually had 3 questions about what that big thing sticking up in the back was.
That is the.
No,
that
I
is
know it's the hose
hose
drying tower. But they said, it's not tall enough to be a lookout tower, because you can't see over the trees. I said, it's not.
Oh, you had three.
Yeah, I
People
thought you
asked me.
said
I
he
thought you
had-
said
I
you
didn't.
have three questions.
No, I had,
That's what I think he thought
people
too.
asked me 3 times, 3 different people asked me what that big thing sticking up in the back was.
Yeah, okay.
And I told them it was the hose drying tower.
Three of us here at the table thought you had said you had 3 questions on it.
Yeah.
So,
I had, yeah.
Answers for all 3.
Okay.
truck purchase. I wanted to bring that to your attention because we are going to be writing the check. We're going to order the truck, assuming that you approve.
Did we already approve?
Well, we approved the budget,
Yes.
and this is within the budget, but this is, what you know,
We
it's
approved
it's
to go
still
in that direction, but he wants us
170,
to approve
it's
the
a
actual
$173,000 purchase.
But it was in the budget that the voters approved.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
For the
no, this is actually in the one that's coming. It was shown last year,
Mm-hmm.
and it's carried through to this year for this next year's payment. The payment will come like in August.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is the way it is. We got a couple of prices on trucks. The one that ended up being a little less was a Mack. The Mack truck with the build is $205,200. The trade-in value, which we have then offered to the resort because they wanted to know when our next truck, they haven't told us officially that they're taking it. We basically say if you'll give it to us with the trade-in value, they can have it, which is $32,000. So the net cost will be $173,200. And the budget in this year that's shown for fiscal year '21 is $193,154. So we're under budget by about $19,000. So, you know, this, and what I think is big news about this truck is this is the first one since 2009 that we are buying cash, no financing.
So we've been buying Max lately again, or?
Yes, there was when I first started, we had bought 3 internationals, and they were costing us like
They were the-
$15,000 a year each to fix, and we
They were the
went
least.
back to the Max, and we are not having near the truck issues. Actually, most of our repair bill goes to the body stuff, all the hydraulics and things. It's not the actual truck itself, so they're doing really well.
You need a motion to move forward with the purchase of the Mack truck?
Yes, please.
So move.
All in favor? Aye.
Under the departments, a couple things I just wanted to go over briefly. The transfer station, there's been some conversation and some things going on with confusion about the usage and things like that. I know Jim has talked about revisiting some of the rate schedule, and also looking at some of the issues that are in our regulations. We have an ordinance in there for solid waste disposal. I gave you each a copy of what is in what is currently active. It was approved in 1988. On page 3, section B is where we talk about no commercial establishments are to use the facility. And we did, and at the end of that, it says removal of their solid waste, and I would add recycling, because recycling is not free to the commercial facilities. They are required by state law to have their own recycling containers and collect their separates. And one of the things that has been being discussed is also the use of the transfer station by commercial haulers.
Right.
The cost and the consistency related to how they can be billed, how they're charged, has come into some conflicts here and there. I have talked to multiple times, I've been talking to Casella regarding, what do they recommend, and also looking at, what should we be charging for a yard of trash and things of that nature, and what should these fees be? And the conversation always ended up back at every town that has allowed commercial haulers has eventually taken it away, because it just doesn't make sense, because you have the Gleason Road facility, and that's open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 3. And there's no way to track this accurately, and all we do is upset people. But we do need to make sure we come up, if we're going to continue to use the commercial haulers. This is just the first discussion, so that you can look at the existing rules, and we'll move forward with, what changes do we want to look at, if we want to look at any at all. But definitely updating the language to make sure it's current. But we want to make sure that we're properly charging and accounting for the amount of trash we get. And the other thing is, because recycling is not a free item anymore, which, nobody really worried about it years ago, but now it's costing a significant amount of money just every time we send a recycling container out of here, we're paying, which was not the case in the past. We used to get money back. So collecting trash from facilities that are not supposed to be using our transfer station is becoming an issue just because it's cost. Before, if you were making money, you could say, bring more. But, we've gotten out of that mix. So I think those are the two big considerations is the rates. I included the current rate sheet that's in place. We did do I think it was done 2 or 3 years ago where a look was done at what the other facilities in Rutland County Solid Waste District were doing. And it was these are very similar per bag charges, with the exception of the commercial hauler. But all of the residential bag charges were very consistent with what's out there with the other ones. And I don't know if we want to look at, because, it's one of those things that if we start to make it expensive, that's when we end up with more trash on the road. So, but we do want to look at just, does anybody have a question about that? Or is it the bulky items? Are they more punches from a card, when you talk about mattresses and things of that nature, although we don't see a lot of that during the year. Usually that's all on bulky day. So I don't know that would have any dramatic impact, but I wanted to bring it to your attention and see if you guys had any comments, and if you could let me know if there's anything you want to see some optional language on, we can do that. Like I said, I look at clarifying the language, and really it's a select board decision as to whether we want to modify or as Casella recommends, eliminate the use of commercial haulers in the transfer station.
So we have a commercial collector in the audience. You have
I know.
any input?
Disappointing hearing Casella say that, but other than that.
Why would you be that? They want it all down there. They want dumpsters, everybody.
That comment by Brett's probably self-motivated. We pick up for all residential in town. Residents who provide a service otherwise wouldn't be provided.
That it?
Yeah. We're seeing a lot of Casella dumpsters starting to pop up at residents' houses that we haven't seen in the past. I'm starting to get complaints on that. It's starting to look kind of seedy.
I got a couple of pictures at the end of dead-end roads of Casella dumpsters or Able dumpsters or whoever in the public road, not, like neighbors sharing, so they don't put it on someone's property. I'm sure
Well,
the
and that-
plow guys are.
And that would be something that then would be also addressed in the solid waste disposal, that, we're not going to have commercial dumpsters in residential houses. I mean, that would also be something we'd have to address.
Recycling here.
What's that?
We don't drop recycling here.
Okay.
You don't.
Right. Yeah, I'm
So I was just gonna back, the rate sheet that we have in front of us is effective July 10th, 2007. And everyone's saying that garbage has gone up over the last 5 years, but yet our prices are, back in 2007, were equal to today's rates?
No,
For the
they're not.
sticker.
I mean, the issue, but the only reason because I know they were looked at 3 years ago, and they did ask the question to all the other districts, and what were they charging per bag, and it was all very similar.
So, I mean, I guess as a board, what we have to do is show that we looked at a situation and that we've actually had conversations and we got to somewhere, somehow, with being open and,
Right.
clear. So, if I go down to, because I've never used the dump over here. But if I go down to like Hubbard Brothers and I drop off a black bag, it's $4. So if I drop off 5 bags, it's $20. We're at 12. I'm not looking for us to be equal to, but what is this? We're supposed to not make money on it. We're supposed to break even.
Right.
What is it
operate?
costing us to operate it?
Yeah.
And then what would that do to the rates? And then to be a little more explaining on a commercial hauler coupon, what does it look like and how many punches are on it? Do you know?
There's a lot more punches than residential, and it's over 200 or something dollars.
Each punch is a yard, and it's 20 yards, so it's 20 punches.
Okay. And so there's 20 punches, and when someone comes in with, I don't know, when you guys come in, what do you come in with when you dump?
Usually pick up truck full size.
Okay. What does a pickup truck hold as yards? So how many punches are getting put in this?
They're non-compacted. It's like
Non-compacted. I'm just saying cubic yard is, the way it was calculated was non-compacted.
So when someone comes in with a coupon for a commercial hauler, how many punches do I get if I'm, how is it done down there? If it's a half a truck, is it one punch? Is it
It's not
two
consistent.
punches? Is it?
No, it's not consistent is the problem.
So
But a pickup truck, excluding the wheel wells,
Plus, it might not be full.
if you go 3 feet high, which isn't really much above the rail, 8 feet long, and it's 6 feet wide because you got a foot on either side plus the 4 feet, that's like 5.3 yards.
So that should be 5 punches.
That's correct.
And that's a long bed, 8 foot.
Correct.
Okay. And a
You know,
short bed.
basically, what we'd probably have to do, we gotta come up with some sort of measurement, and you go,
We gotta be fair
I'd
to
have to
them,
do the
too.
math. Yeah, no, I agree. We'd have to come up with, it might be simpler to just be like, well, if we can either measure the truck and determine what it is, or if it could be, what does a typical 30-gallon bag take up, and is it 3 bags or 4 bags that's a yard? I don't know. You know what I mean? We'd have to do that math.
How many bags do you think you get in a truck?
Depends on the size of the bags, but we'll recycle, we have recycling on.
But no, that you're dropping here,
Mm-hmm.
not recyclables. Recyclables, you're taking out of here. 20 bags?
No, probably 40.
40 bags.
And at 4 punches, which is what I did, it would be about 10 bags and that's probably a little low then.
Okay. But that's better than what we were doing
Oh,
prior to this
I
conversation.
agree with that. And basically, what I did is I went and measured an average and instructed the transfer station attendant, like for a pickup, to do 4 punches. Okay, and that's probably a little low, but it's not high.
Now, when you have, and I mean, I'm gonna keep on hitting on you, because you're the only citizen other than press, and you're in town and you have this garbage company. If you were to bring a truck down to Casella on Gleason Road, and you had to get on the scale with just your garbage of 40 bags,
It's tough to say, 'cause usually the stuff we bring down there is all mattresses and
yeah,
heavy stuff.
because you bring all the garbage here.
Yeah, recycling we bring elsewhere. but
Yeah,
trash usually goes
right.
there.
Just, because you,
I mean, I think
Gleason Road,
we just gotta
yeah.
come up with a volume
yeah,
measurement to say this is what it's gonna average, and try to come up with an average. Right now, it's been all over the map, and we just gotta clean it up and try to get some sort of standard so that it becomes fair and equitable.
and how many commercial haulers do we have in town other than,
I think I only know of 2 others.
Yeah, no, I had to go through a federal and state, but I couldn't check for, I'm not sure how many other ones are legit. Commercial hauler.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's 2 others that are doing it, one that will not be doing it after April.
right? Well, because he's moving on to another job.
Correct.
And who's
I
the
just-
other
He's
one?
legit.
No, it wasn't that wasn't a legit thing. I said, but I think we're gonna be down to only 1 other, as far as I know.
I haven't sold any to
All right.
Okay.
anybody
There's a
else.
bunch of odds and ends that do, 5 years, 10 and everything.
Right.
You know, and from my perspective, it's just about consistency with how we're measuring it. That's all.
You're in agreement that if you came in with a pickup truck with 40 bags in there, that you shouldn't get 1 punch?
As long as it's not, as long as recycling's not mixed, because recycling usually in there, we take.
No, I'm saying if you had 40 bags,
Trash.
if you had 10 bags of garbage,
Oh, yeah, no, as long as it's fair, as long as it's consistent.
So, okay, let's just look further into, I mean, I think that's the bigger thing, and even the other, I mean, how much is it costing us? And-
Well, the net-
And
if
if
you
we
look
went
at-
up to 5 bags being $14, you're still $6 lower than running all the ways down to.
If you look at the actual, what it's actually costing the town by budget, not actual right now, because I only have the budget in front of me. We are budgeting an expense about $61,000, and we are budgeting $21,000 worth of $20,000 worth of revenue,
So 40K loss.
40K loss.
What we could do is, next few weeks, count, we get an idea, count the bags going out. Who we leave in the trash.
Do you think we lose on the solid waste bags, or you think we lose on the bulky items?
Well, to be honest with you, if you go by the last 3, maybe 4 years, the hold the paper. Recycling is costing us $11,000. That went from about a $6,000 or $8,000 revenue to an $11,000 expense, just because recycling has no value. So that's been a big part of it. If you look at cost per year for solid waste, it's stayed relatively flat, but only because our recycling is increased. We're spending a lot more in recycling because we do know there are commercial facilities using the town facility for recycling,
Of
And-
which items?
mostly cardboard.
Okay.
And
And how much is and that, you think that's like 50-60% of the $11,000 that we're
Yes.
losing?
Yes.
So I was thinking about this the other night. No, really, you want to have a service for the town.
Right.
Right.
But you also don't want it to be costing the taxpayers any money.
Right.
So I always brought my cardboard down to Hubbard Brothers, okay, on Cold River Road. They don't charge you anything. You know, do we make it that there are certain days that we have for just cardboard? And we work those days that when we're running trucks down to get sand or salt or whatever, that we're also, and we're already heading to Rutland, like we make it once every other week or something like that. And I'm just throwing an idea, you could go like, but are we here to try to do a service and also at the same time that we could fill up a dump truck with cardboard and you go down to Hubbard's and you inside the big thing and you dump it and you take off and you, on your way back, you go pick up? Or do we want to do
But are
that?
they gonna do it for free if they see a town truck coming in?
They make money still off their cardboard.
The issue for us is you can't store it before you, like, to get enough to put in a truck. And a truck, our trucks are not designed for regular
Yeah.
use of putting the tailgate down in that way, so it actually won't go through the tailgate. That's why dumpsters have, like, if you were gonna do this where you wanted to separate cardboard because you think you could do better, you'd have to have an arrangement, but you're still gonna pay for the trucking
Right.
to have a dumpster that's set aside
So
just for
then we just say we
cardboard.
don't accept cardboard for commercial enterprises.
Well, we're not supposed to, if you read the rules, we're not supposed to accept anything from a
Anything from
commercial
commercial.
enterprise. That doesn't count commercial haulers. Anybody who's running, and I'll use one example, was an inn over here on Thundering Brook Road that after the weddings, we'd get 4 or 5 pickup loads of cardboard after a weekend.
Right,
They're no longer in business, that's why
Yeah,
I'll say that, but
right.
the
But
issue
we have
is.
others.
We have others, and that's where the issue is. They're not carrying their recycling into their own dumpsters, which is what they're required to do by state law.
Right.
You know, so if we could actually reduce some of the costs that way. It's not gonna be huge, maybe $3,000 or $4,000. You know, and the other side is, you know, what do we have to look at for a number of bags of trash? And, you know, and I would recommend, in the short term, not changing the rates, only because I'd like to see what proper enforcement does.
Okay.
You know, like if we could get to where we're actually making sure we're getting all the right punches, that everybody's buying a card or a sticker.
Oh, I think you're gonna cut out, I think you're gonna pick up $10,000-$12,000 just by making sure everyone has a sticker.
And
And
that's what we're-
everybody gets their card punched.
Right. And if we can accomplish that, then we could see where we are, and then if we have to bump
Yeah.
a bag of trash $1, it's not the end of the world.
If we
You
just,
know. But that type of thing where we could actually start to get a little better handle on it. I mean, our resident assistant clerk, who's here taking minutes, has done a really good job with trying to be able to we have a good accounting system for where all the cards are going and the stickers and knowing whether we have them or not. We actually have a book over at the transfer station where if somebody comes in and says, well, my sticker's in my other car, we can look it up in the book. So we are at a place where we have a better accountability process already happening.
My last question on this subject is on the last page. I can read Pat Zach's name and Charlie Demers's name. Who's the first guy?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that.
1988. Pat Zach, Charlie Demers, then,
That'd be like trying to read your name.
yep.
Mine too.
So I don't know the answer to that. Staying on the transfer station, just so everybody's aware, there was I guess a couple of times in the last few months, people brought food scraps to the transfer station and were turned away. We've had the toters there for 2 years that are there for the food scraps. When I asked the question, what I've really learned is our current attendant, who, as part of this discussion, has given his notice, and March 2nd will be his
I want that
last day.
job.
March 2nd, he will be his last day. Was concerned about the bears coming in and was afraid he was going to run into a bear, so he kept telling everybody we don't accept them when we do. And during that process, one person who was turned away sent a letter to the state, and I got an email from Rutland County Solid Waste District that said, we've been in compliance. We actually had an inspection last year by the state, and they were looking for those things. We had them on site. We didn't know that people were being turned away. We weren't advertising.
So we
more.
collect it, but we don't.
Exactly. So I have sent the response letter, and I think we're fine there because we were in compliance at our inspection last year. We're still in compliance. We are just going to make sure we don't turn anyone away.
So when do I get my first training on running this place?
We're gonna have an executive session here in a little while.
Okay. Other business?
I don't have an,
No?
one other.
Yes? Okay.
A request, Mona forwarded to me, that Peter was wondering if he had any future golf usage privileges going forward. He was asking for passes and things of that nature, and I had said I would bring that along. I also said that what we had done with, when we had a request from another employee, and we had denied that request in the past, but I would present it to the select board.
I think that's personnel. That's a personnel discussion
executive
first amongst
session
us.
Okay.
Oh, so we don't get
That's
into
fine.
our little.
Yep. I just wanted the request was made, and then you would come out and make a motion on what the decision is.
Yeah.
So that's where we are.
Okay. Executive session? Yes, no?
Yes. Contracts and personnel.
Okay. So entertain a motion to go into executive session at 7:40?
So moved.
Okay.